There we go.
There you go.
So, it sounds to me like you're starting to put your shoulder back together or shoulders back together a little bit, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have one shoulder that's been injured a number of times in the past, and
Yeah.
it's pretty chronic. And so, yeah, I started doing the some of the shoulder protocol
Hmm.
um, sequencing, and wow, what a difference it's been making. And um, so I think I'm on going on my third week now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And between adding that in, and then I'm still doing some of the stuff from the 5-day challenge,
Yep.
my thoracic spine has opened up and I'm starting to feel my core.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Oh my God. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I
Very
mean, I'm
cool.
starting to feel it without having to, like, you know,
Brace
grip it.
and kind of clench down.
Yep, 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 exactly.
Yeah, it's weird how the shoulder stuff, I don't think we really understand how well it or how much it actually connects to that thoracic stuff. And I think we
Mhm.
have to really look at the shoulder blades and then
Yep,
how the shoulder blades impact the rib cage.
yep.
Um, yeah, we're in the process of revamping VIP for the next movement restoration challenge and
Okay,
putting in like dedicated shoulder uh, kind of assessment slash correctives
okay,
in there, and then putting in some knee, ankle, and foot stuff in there as well in VIP. I just can't get to it in the general class.
okay.
So so yeah, but it's pretty crazy. That was one of my bigger aha moments when I went to Anatomy in Motion was how much the your shoulder blades impact the rib cage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And particularly as you start to like try to get stuff over your head, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm, big
And
time.
that's where you can really start to put in a lot of then like as you start to get more mobility and more strength, that's when you can start to put in some more of like some of Katie's stuff and things like that as well, or hanging from
Hang
stuff, or
Yeah,
starting to like maybe because I know for a while my left shoulder I had to be really careful hanging because it just wanted to come out,
sure,
right?
sure. Yep.
Because I just didn't have enough structural integrity of the joint. So, but you can start to like progressively scale that hanging,
Right.
or stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, very
yeah,
cool. I'm excited to hear about that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good, good. Well, let's hop into the call, and we'll chat about some things. For people, I know some people actually are starting to watch the replay, so I have to mention those folks that actually watch the replay. So, um,
Good.
yeah, right. It's kind of cool. Like I'm starting to get some feedback. We're gonna do our next movement restoration challenge, the 20, the we're yeah the 26th. Um, and then we're going to do like a little pre-launch webinar on the 22nd. So
Okay.
hopefully we could get some more folks into the community and get things going here. So pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, I think what you've experienced, Sonia, and then what we talked a lot about in the challenge, and kind of really the primary goal of this community here is to help people to understand that um, the reasons that people have injuries and then have setbacks along the way, they're not really accidental. Your body and the way that your body moves and sequences together really, your big toe is really connected to your nose bone, right? I mean, like it can get that ingrained in there. And I'll talk about a weird as we kind of go along the call. I'll talk about a weird case that I had um, with pelvis and skull and putting those things together and
Mm.
completely flipping someone's their transverse plane or their rotation of their pelvis because of a head injury that they had when they were a kid. It was pretty
Mm.
cool.
Wow.
So So yeah, the what we have to think about is like the reason that we do the pelvis, rib cage, and skull in the movement restoration challenge is because those are the largest bones in your body that have the that are connected with that thing called the spine, thus making them all interconnected. They move independently and also interdependently, and then our skeleton, and then the rest of the bones move around that
Mm.
those structures. Yes, the shoulders have an impact on how the rib cage moves, but if your rib cage doesn't move, it doesn't matter about shoulders,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So and we want to think about that rib cage being like an accordion. If your pelvis doesn't move, it doesn't matter what your knee is doing. It just doesn't. Your knee won't do the things it needs to do. And conversely, I would actually put the foot in there as in those four structures as well. But the foot is so complicated that I mean, obviously, Gary had a whole 6 days, 8 hours a day dedicated to how the foot impacted the rest of the body. So like I can't get that done in 5 hours. Um, but the foot, because it makes contact with the ground, definitely has influence with the pelvis, rib cage, and skull. But how your pelvis moves has a direct impact on how the foot moves as well. And you can kind of couple those two things together. We can say thing about the same thing about the foot and the skull, but you got a lot of real estate in between those two things, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, the thing that I want to really kind of harp down or hammer down today is that the body doesn't break down randomly. It breaks down unless so we I want to separate out injuries here. So I want to separate impact injuries from repetitive use injuries. Impact
Hmm.
injuries are um a different um experience on the body than a repetitive use injury is. So if someone's out running and they have plantar fasciitis or they have knee pain or they have low back pain, if someone's out running, um, that's different than if they fell and hit their shoulder or fell and hit their hip, right? But your joints capacity to handle impact is directly reflective of how much continuous progressive stress and overload that you put it under. So someone like hopefully in your case, hopefully in 2 more months, your shoulder is a lot more resilient than what it was when you first started. And so your ability to absorb that impact hopefully is better. Now, obviously, if you fall off the Empire State Building with your arm out, I can't do anything about that. But if it's, you slip and fall outside, maybe hopefully your shoulder can withstand that impact because of the resiliency that you built. So we want to separate out those two types of injuries because they are very different types of injuries. But truth be told, they also have a similarity because if your joints aren't resilient enough to handle the load that you're putting it under, the skeleton still moves too fast. And when the skeleton still moves too fast, then we start to come up with all our osises and itises and all those things because
Mm.
the joint itself can't handle in locomotion. If we all laid still and didn't move, then we wouldn't really have a lot of injuries itself, right? I mean,
Right.
in the in the structure, right? But
I had
as we
a
start to move,
chiropractor tell me that. I had a chiropractor tell me that. He said, if you weren't so active, you
oh
wouldn't.
well, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a different story. That's a different conversation. Yeah, yeah. Which is also as I tried to explain to people, like so a couple years ago my appendix decided that it wanted to move out. It was ready to go and leave the nest, right? So it didn't hurt. I had really low grade pain.
Hmm.
Maybe on a scale of 0 to 10, maybe like it peaked at 4, but I just didn't feel right. So I went into Southdale, and they they had me on an IV, and they wheeled me up to where the observation floor or whatever the hell it was. This is before my surgery. And the girl said to me, she says, "Can you get up and walk across the room?" Now, I was on some pain meds and stuff like that, because they'd given me some stuff, but like across the room was from me to my door, you know, not very far. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I get up and I just like I start dragging the foliar along with me, and she's like, "We just don't have people that can get up and move around like that." And so, that's their norm.
Sure.
And I think where people when they go see whoever it is that's used to dealing with pain with people who are deconditioned,
Yeah.
and they're doing you know, I mean, to be a little inflammatory, sick care instead of wellness care,
Mhm.
right? Then
Yep.
it's a whole. I, I would, I would a million times over rather have someone who is active as a client
Mhm.
when I was doing massage than if I had someone that was inactive and deconditioned. Like it
Yeah.
just, the body just doesn't respond the same way.
Mm.
So we want to think about like, if we all just kind of laid around and did nothing, and decided to not have active lifestyles, yeah, we would have breakdown of our structure over time, but it wouldn't be as pronounced as if you're starting to become more active, or you want to become active, or you have been active, but you've got some repetitive use injuries, um, because the joint, your structure can't handle the capacity that you're putting it under. And so the thing that we want to think about is those things aren't random, right? They do have a bit of a hierarchy, and they do have in order to go from that pain or that injury back to getting you to square one, and then past square one in physically outperforming where you currently are at, and potentially, I mean, depending on where we're at in the person, maybe outperforming most of their life, because that's still a possibility. Like me I'll be 50 in February. Me at 50 is far more capable than me at 30, because I was dealing with low back pain, right? I don't have any of that stuff today. So I can go do things that I could not do. I can train jiu-jitsu at a pace. I can train martial arts at a pace I just physically couldn't do because my structure can handle the capacity. So, Ian, I think it's also helpful for us to have that hierarchy of the pelvis, rib cage, and skull, because we can start to actually check in and track how those things are moving,
Mhm.
right? And we know that because of that stupid spine, and then what's connected, what's in that spine, those stupid nerves, all the things that are going to give us problems are
Yep.
pretty much boiled into those things. Um, so, I think the thing that we want to consider is when these relationships are off, the
Mhm.
stress has to go somewhere in our body. The pain
Yep.
has to start to creep up somewhere.
Yep.
So now, if we start to understand this hierarchy, the hierarchy doesn't tell you, what to fix. It explains why fixing the parts rarely holds. So, like, if you're, again, if you have low back pain, but you're not starting to pay attention to how your trunk moves, there's probably a reason why you aren't able to solve those things. So, like back in the day when I was doing NKT, I would just I got really good results by and large the majority of the time if I just started local and then went global from there. But there were enough times where that didn't work, that's what part of what caused me to go take anatomy and motion,
Mm.
right? And then when I mean, for as amazing of a system as anatomy and motion was, it wasn't going to solve the joint instability that I had when I had my meniscus tear, and then post meniscus tear, with my knee. And so that's why that's why then I had to start looking at how do I rebuild the joint and the resiliency of the joint itself, and then also the tissue around the joint. Because that's the other thing too, is like, oftentimes people they want to do like stretching, or they want to do some mobility, or they want to do strength training, but they don't think about the impact that when you look at taking that joint centered approach not only does the tendons and ligaments get stronger around the joint, but then the quality of the muscle tissue around the joint gets better as well, which then builds the resiliency of the joint. Like I had in my post last week about muscles or joints earn load, muscles express it.
Mhm.
I think that's a very critical idea and conversation to have. And when the chat robot spit that thing out to me, I literally went, "Oh my gosh, holy
Mhm.
crap!" Like that's what I've been trying to express for the last, I don't know, 4 years or so. When your joints can't handle the load, when they haven't earned the load, then you're not going to be able to express it. And then as you're loading it more, then now we start to go backwards. We don't go forwards.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, so yeah, so uh, I'll tell the real quick story of the client that I was seeing probably about uh, it's probably about 5, 6 years ago, 6 years, no, 7 years ago, because it was before COVID. So I had this client, her pelvis did not move in transverse plane, and it would move, but didn't like to move much in frontal plane. And she had a ton of low back pain. She would have migraines, the whole thing. And so I'm like, okay, you've seen everybody in the under the sun and tried everything from, you know, Pilates to yoga to, I don't know, you know, spiritual tapping of your 55th chakra. I mean, she's done everything that she
Mhm.
possibly could. I said, so let's talk about other injuries, other places. So we're talking about it, and she's like, yeah, I had, she goes, I said, so any head injuries? Like anything there? She's like, no. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In third grade, I was standing next to a kid and we were playing baseball and he hit me in the head with a bat.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, oh, okay. And so I start monkeying around with her skull and started to have her move her pelvis, do the check ins. And lo and behold, if I touched the suture, her pelvis moved a ton more.
Hmm.
And so I did some craniosacral work on it,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden her pelvis got back to moving again. And then
Huh.
for probably, it was right before COVID. This is right before COVID hit because I couldn't see her through COVID, right? And so probably for probably a good 6, 8 months, she didn't have any more headaches after we went through a couple sessions with that. And her pelvis moved like, I mean, it was noticeably different.
Hmm.
So, there's definitely a tie-in between all these structures. Now,
Mhm.
luckily for most of us, we haven't been hitting the head with a baseball bat, right?
Thank goodness.
Luckily, luckily,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we don't need to get like that far down the wormhole, the rabbit hole of crazy, land. But on occasion, crazy land does help. Um,
Mm.
and so but the thing that we were missing, because I didn't have the technology at the time, the thing that we were missing was coming back around again and then supporting the movement of that pelvis. So then helping her to have a more resilient system in the pelvis itself, right? So I think those are important things to kind of to talk about and to understand. um, but really, the thing too is like when that pelvis rib cage and skull idea is really just it's a way for us to assess and look at it. And I think that in short term work, we can improve the symptoms. But what we really need is we really need a system that helps us to go and integrate all of those things, not only in movement but as well, loading them as well.
Mhm.
So, like for you, you've done a couple days of shoulder mobility and thoracic spine mobility, right? I mean, like you've
Yep.
done that a bunch, right?
Yep.
but the combination of the mobility of some of that thoracic spine stuff and then also getting your
Right.
shoulders stronger is
Yeah.
helping you to unlock that,
Right. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So and so what are you noticing as that starts to unlock?
Um, well, my breathing has gotten better. My
Oh,
diaphragm
interesting. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mhm, mhm. Um, what else have I noticed? Oh, I just have so much more range of motion in my neck.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't even well, and the funny thing is I didn't even realize my neck was that stiff in the first place,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm like, "Oh," you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm just that butcher block stretch is crazy. That has shown me just where I am so tight, and I cannot
Yeah.
believe it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna rip in half or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy because there's not a lot of, I mean, you don't have much load on it in the beginning, especially, right?
No,
So you'll see guys that'll actually start to load that.
really?
Um yeah, yeah, yeah. But but yeah, I mean, because and also it's a little bit of a precursor to a pullover as well. Um and
Okay.
so but yeah, I mean again with my left shoulder, when it after it popped out when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I'd go back and try butcher block, and my left shoulder couldn't support it in the beginning. Like it just didn't feel right. And I've been monkeying around actually just this week. So one of my journeys this year is I'm gonna get reverse push-ups or back or bridge push-ups. I used to be able to do them.
Oh,
I can't do them now, and it
okay.
is driving me nuts. I used to be able to walk my hands down the wall, like a back bridge,
Oh,
do a
yeah.
push up, a reverse push up, and then walk my hands back up the wall and do sets of those stupid things. I
Oh my.
could not do a reverse push up if you held a gun to my head right now.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I'm starting to do some stuff on the squat rack with that chin up bar, and then starting to do some isometric holds in that reverse bridge with some modifications so I can get into it, so I can start to build the requisite strength there. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy when when you don't realize how locked up your shoulders are, and then as a consequence, how locked up your thoracic is.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just crazy. Ugh.
yeah. So you're doing butcher stretch, and then what
I'm
else you got in there?
I've got the butcher block stretch, I've got the Powell raise, and I'm doing
Yeah.
the external rotators. I'm I'm not doing the shoulder press yet because that just it's too much.
Yep. Yep.
It's too much to have that in. But
Yep.
those three have been and and I put it together on the same day that I do my ankle protocol, so I can
Yep.
alternate between lower and upper,
Yep.
which works
Yep.
really well.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah, the power raise and the stupid external rotation, oh
uh,
my gosh, they're
I
so
mean,
damn hard in the beginning.
I'm using 3 pounds,
I know.
and it's just excruciating. It's not
I
excruciating,
know.
but I'm just so fatigued by the end
Yeah.
of the third set.
So I'm glad that you said something about that, and you use the word excruciating, but pain and fatigue, there's a pain when you get fatigued like that, right?
Yeah.
When
Yep.
you start to hit mechanical failure,
Yep.
there's a fatigue like that. And now for some people, when they when you get to that mechanical failure, especially because those are that power raise is a long range motion, right?
Yeah.
And so you might experience along with that some joint instability
Yep.
just because you've you've challenged the joint so much.
Okay.
and,
Okay.
and so and it might not happen to you, but I know for me, it's happened a number of times with my knees as I've like progressed through things, and my knees have gotten stronger. But like right now, I'm working on the pigeon on the incline pigeon on the bench, and that's the height my that's the next step before I go flat, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
as I've started to do it, my knees have not been achy in a while. And I couldn't put it together because I went down from like 30 degrees down to that. And I couldn't put together, and I'm starting to get more range of motion as I'm going into that. and my glute is getting a lot stronger as well. But there's still a little bit of torsion on the knee itself, right?
Okay.
As I'm
Yep.
as I'm doing it. And so the last, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, my knees have been like kind of creaky and cranky, and I didn't understand why until today. And I'm
Okay.
like, oh, you dummy, you're stressing that the knee ligaments, your
Uh,
outside knee ligaments, as you're going into that,
sure.
particularly because you're getting into greater ranges of motion. And so when you challenge the joint like that, particularly with something that is ligament challenging, afterwards you can feel potentially, it's kind of like delayed onset muscle soreness, but it's like delayed onset ligament soreness.
Exactly. I know
Yep,
exactly what you're talking about because that's
yep,
what I'm feeling in this left shoulder.
yep,
And I was like, God, that just feels so weird and
yep,
unstable. Like
yep,
it's just the other one's fine,
yeah.
so okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and we want to think about, like, you're most likely to what's happening is as you're going and as you're strengthening that joint itself, your joint, the head of your humerus is probably recentering a little bit as well, which is going
Okay.
to give you that unstable feeling,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I today now I've been doing external rotation for 4 years. Today, 3.5 years, we'll say. Today, and next week, starting next week, I'll do 3 sets of 15 with 15-pound dumbbells on external rotation. But
Wow.
I can remember making a 2.5 pound plate look like a 500-pound plate when I first started,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, as you stay with it more, that you'll have these kind of like jumps in your gains, or jumps in your
Mhm.
ability to handle the load.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I'm constantly amazed at, like, um, how much better uh, my shoulders feel
Hmm.
because of those two stupid movements that are ridiculously humbling. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But so effective. And it's just
yeah,
like, oh, yeah, this is great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And as you start to put in the shoulder press, um, that will also give you, that'll help strengthen you in external rotation, right? And then
Okay.
obviously in abduction and adduction, but really help you to find ranges that you weren't very strong in,
Yep.
you know? Because that to me is the name of the game. Like,
Hmm.
let's find ranges that we're not strong in, and then accept that we're not strong in them.
Yep.
Don't be 22-year-old Sean and think that you can just muscle your way through them, because you can't,
No.
right?
No.
Be- Particularly because you're dealing with, again, ranges of motion that we haven't done in a while, if ever, right? Who
Yeah.
who tries to get strong from down here, right? I don't know
Right.
very many people that javelin, shot putters,
Oh,
people
sure.
like that, right? Nobody
Mhm.
tries to get strong from down here, but that's a super important range of motion, because now I can get into external rotation and I have AB deduction. So if I'm strong down there, then I can be really strong through just this range of motion.
Sure. Sure.
So, yeah, as you start to get a little bit more stable and stronger, I'll be interested to hear how, your shoulders feel, and as you start to put in that shoulder press.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Oh, one
and
thing I'll add too quick before I forget
yep.
is I'm actually starting to get some definition in my calves.
All right. All right.
Not that that's what I'm going for, but I was looking at it today because I did my calf raises and stuff, and I'm like, oh, there's actually some muscle down there.
Yeah. So I always say that, well, now, so back before, I couldn't make you look cute, right? But
Hmm.
now, if you stay with it long enough, because
Hmm.
you're progressively overloading the tissue in the joint, you're going to get muscular adaptation,
Yep.
and and that is a, from outside of an aesthetics standpoint,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That is a really, really important thing for us to have
Hmm.
because as we add more muscle tissue, our body becomes more resilient, you know?
I
So,
can't tell you how many times I have slipped on the ice this year and not gone down. I've been able to right myself. I mean, it's great.
I had that happen to me last Wednesday. I was pulling the garbage cans up, and my driveway is a really short driveway, but it's steep
Yep.
for the yeah, for like the second half of it, that goes down to the road. And so I
Hmm.
was grabbing the trash cans, and we'd had all that snow, and then we had a little bit of that rain, and then
I
it refroze again, right?
Yep.
I almost ate it like nobody's business, but somehow I was like, oh, that
Yeah.
was okay, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I was talking to someone earlier on today about this. If that would have happened to me 15 years ago, I would have been down for the count with my back
Oh,
because
yeah.
my pelvis went this way. My pelvis went out in front of the plane and my upper half stayed where it was because the ground was slippery, right? Because that's how
Oh,
you kind of catch your
yeah.
balance, right? And
Yep.
so, oh my gosh, yeah, I would have been down for the count for sure. With that, had my if I would had the same symptoms and instability in my low back. So yeah, it's I mean, between the dumb walking backwards on the treadmill, which people ask me, they're like, "Should I really do that?" Yes, you should really do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Hmm.
should really do
Yep.
that. And
Yep.
then also, just strengthening your calf raises and tib raises. y-
Oh,
y-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Huge.
yeah, can have such a huge carryover. So, well, cool, Sonia. Um, yeah, anything occur to you as new on our chat today?
Um,
No is an acceptable answer always too, by the way.
no.
Okay, perfect. You don't have to make up anything. Good, good. Okay, cool. Well, um, thanks for joining me again. I've blabbered for a half hour, so
Yeah,
I think we're good to go. I'm excited about your progress. I'll be
thank you.
really excited to hear how probably in the next 30 so days how
Yeah.
the gains that you make in your shoulders. Be careful, Sonia. You might start throwing some shoulder muscles on yourself here if you're not careful,
Yeah.
right?
Hopefully more in the posterior. I've got enough anterior
Yeah,
muscle,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
way too much anterior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
because that's because we've loaded them for forever, right?
Yep. Yep.
And not really had ways to load the posterior part of the shoulder. And even like when back before when I was doing like kind of bodybuilding workouts, reverse flies are great, by the way. I do them, I've done them, I think they're great. But that's only one part of your shoulder.
Right.
Nobody talked to me about external rotation. And then
Sure.
I had never seen the Powell raise before. I, I did ATG and yeah, both of those two. And then again, as you start pressing, and you and you're starting to load into that greater range of motion down low here, you'll start to find a lot more tissue kind of go on there as well. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, well,
Uh,
pretty soon somebody's going to be accusing you going and doing the gun show, huh? Like,
we'll see.
yeah, hang around me long enough and it will happen, I promise you.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool, cool. Well, Sonia, I appreciate you as always, and I look forward to chatting with you next week.
All right. Thanks,
All
Sean.
right. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.